This is the best bit. Alright, that's that out of the way. I'm just going to cough quickly. Okay, you guys didn't have to hear that luckily, because the mute button exists. There is a lot to discuss. I want to do some stuff on the things Wes Streeting said recently. And there's a lot on David Cameron. There's some stuff on Starmer that I want to cover. There is... do you know what? I just realised I have to refresh all of these tabs.
Play.
Do I have to refresh all of them? Huh, that's strange. There we go. Sometimes it'll make me like click on all of them. Just to... Sorry, it's flashing a bit. That's my bad. For some reason... Oh, it's not great viewing. For some reason, Twitter does this thing where you have to refresh every page. Hello, Sabine. It's been a while, I think.
Defending.
It's been a while. I hope you're doing okay.
Under international.
Got stuff on Dave to talk about as well. You know, miss Dave. Good old Dave. So got a few people here. I'll probably wait a few more minutes. There is a lot to discuss here. I'm not gonna lie. So we pray the audio levels are good, and that should hopefully do it. Hopefully we'll get to 10, and then we can start. Got a new coffee machine as well. It's not bad. Although I don't know if this coffee tastes like soap. What did you think of Saltburn? The hell is Saltburn? Going on Twitter, like trying to figure out what's going on in the world. What the hell? MPs like me have been betrayed by Rashid on Yemen. Where was our vote? Interesting. There's been a lot of talk about that actually. That Sunak should have gotten a vote, but given that Starmer basically said it was fine, that's something. Damn, bro got 10k views in an hour. Not me. I wish I could get numbers like that, but one of the musicians I listen to, he's doing quite well. Anyways, let's see. We good? Yeah, we got some people here. Might as well get started. So this policy from Labour is good. It's not great or amazing in terms of what it will do, but this is the mindset that I think as a country we need to get into, which is preventative care. So this is not like an S tier policy or an A tier policy, to be honest with you. It's more a B tier policy. But, you know, all we're going to get out of this lot is probably B tier policy. So we'll give them praise when they deserve it and criticism when they deserve it. You know, it's how the punches roll on the channel.
Children aged between 6 and 10 are experiencing tooth decay to the extent it is the #1 reason why they're being admitted to hospital. And this is totally avoidable. I think actually that teaching kids to brush their teeth is parents' responsibility. But in too many cases,
which he's right about, is the parents' responsibility, yes.
That's not happening. And I think we face a choice as a country. We can either sit back and say, well, it's parents' job, and if kids' teeth rot and if they end up in hospital, that's just too bad, despite the cost to their health, their teeth, and to the NHS. Or for actually a relatively small amount of money, we can put supervised toothbrushing in for kids aged between 3 and 5 to help keep their teeth clean and out of hospital.
OK, one, you said for a small amount of money. What's the money? How much money, and what will it pay for?
Oh, no, I didn't realise you're paying for it, dog.
It's £3 million for supervised toothbrushing. That's part of a broader £1.6 billion package we're committing to the NHS to cut waiting lists.
I just want to look at this £3 million.
So it sounds like it's coming out of the healthcare spending.
That's £3 million paid for the time for a teacher to look at every 3 to 5-year-old's teeth and supervise their brushing.
Well, it's part of a broader programme we've got for primary school breakfast clubs. Every child in the country will be able to access primary school breakfast clubs.
But this is different, no.
So that's part of the time. But I take the point you're making, but that's part of the time. Any teacher will tell you, in terms of the direct supervision, there'll be some kids who turn up who they know and can see are really confident, probably already brushed their teeth.
Now, what he should have said is, they should plan it out better. It's going to be during the breakfast clubs this stuff happens, because that would make some sense. What he should have said is, how can we afford not to do this, given the cost it is to the NHS? That instead of doing preventative care, which is much cheaper, you're dealing with a situation where kids have tooth decay and they have to have their teeth pulled out at a hospital, which is going to take up hospital time. It's going to be much more expensive to do those tooth extractions than it would be just to have supervised brush time. Like that's how he should have framed it. It's not a question of how can we afford it. It's a question of how can we not afford it, because we are paying for it. It's not hard. So I think this is a decent policy. But I do worry that one of the reasons Labour have gone so soft in the election and have pushed austerity so much is because they don't know how to answer basic questions like this. I mean, this is a good policy, but embarrassingly bad response. The answer is, how can we afford not to do it, given we are a laughingstock when it comes to dentistry in this country? We've been mocked for decades. We are a joke in this area. Can't the UPE... No. The old no, that's a French word. We don't do French words in this channel. I'm sick. I'm treated for a cat. I know. Yeah, I remember you mentioned it before. I hope you get better soon, Sabine. Honestly, it's the parents' issues, but spending a small amount of money will save millions. Exactly, and it will stop long-term health problems, which again we will have to pay for. Someone will have to pay for it at the end of the day. Notice how when opposition parties propose something, it has to be costed, but when the Tories, they never... Yeah, it is a bit of a joke, to be honest. But Labour know these questions are coming. They should be much better prepared for this. Take control of this interview. Honestly, I think he should have just said, how can we afford not to do this? This is the easier response. I know Max did a video on it saying, the media asking Labour dumb questions. I mean, these are dumb questions, but the answers are not hard. Like, genuinely, they are not hard. And this from Sopel, saying, is Keir Starmer ready to fight in a general election? Asked if Labour had their feet held to the fire. I mean, that's your job, big man. That's your job. You're meant to hold politicians accountable. If you're asking the question, have Labour given an easy ride? I know, I just don't pronounce French words on the channel because I refuse. I refuse to do that. So... I know it means like nanny or like, I think it's like, yeah, pretty much. But we don't, this is a no French zone. I'm not lifting the no French bat. No, I did lift the no, oh no. I blame Rustage. For that. But, this whole thing of have Labour been held accountable is like, that's your job, big man. That's why you're paid big bucks via, Global. That's what you're meant to be doing. If you're asking the question, it means you don't think they have been held accountable. And that means you haven't done your job correctly. Moron. This from where's
generation. Labour wants children born in Britain today to be part of the healthiest generation that ever lived. And that's why we're launching our Children's Health Action Plan, which I'm
why blood? Can you not afford a tripod? Why is it swishing so much?
going to try and get to you in less than
I don't think the cameraman could find the perfect shot. This is embarrassing.
60 seconds. We'll put dedicated mental health support in every primary and secondary school in the country to support children's well-being.
That's good. That's good. That's a good policy.
We'll introduce supervised toothbrushing for children aged between 3 and 5 to stop tooth decay, seeing so many kids ending up admitted to hospital.
Again, we've gone over that. That's good.
We'll ban the targeting
Yeah, Wes Streeting's a dickhead, but these are actual good policies.
of junk food to children that's fueling the childhood obesity crisis. We'll
I think it's not just. I don't think it's the junk food targeted ads stuff, because ultimately the parents can just say no. I think the problem is a lot of people in this country don't know how to cook. That is a problem, especially not healthy meals. And the other problem is I don't know if parents even have enough time to do it, given both parents can work full time, and it's incredibly difficult to do anything outside of that. I work full time, and I barely have enough time to do this stuff. If I had a kid, I'd have no free time.
ban the irresponsible marketing of vapes that's addicting a generation of kids to nicotine.
Again, that's a decent policy, but with the vapes thing, I don't know how you stop that. It's just like, how do you stop kids smoking? It's very difficult.
We'll end long waits in the NHS by providing 2 million more appointments a year to cut waiting lists.
That's a good policy, but again, I don't know in terms of I don't know in terms of how much of a dent is that going to make in the waiting lists.
And to make sure that children start the day with hungry minds, not hungry bellies, we'll introduce nutritious breakfast clubs in every primary school in the country. That's Labour's childhood health plan. That's the plan you've got to vote for at the next general election to make this the healthiest generation that ever lived.
That again, the breakfast club thing. I'm a big fan of it. Honestly, I'm a big fan of the breakfast club thing. I think it's a good policy. I think, especially if you're a kid living in London, you'll have, I think, free school meals provided by the City of London, the mayor, Sadiq Khan, big up Khan, and with the free breakfast club as well. I think it'll be very helpful for kids. I genuinely do. So again, these are good policies here. I think there's going to be a lot of how are you going to pay for it? How are you going to pay for it? Which is just dumb from the media for a lot of these policies, which will have economic benefits. Having kids that are more productive in school means that they'll go on to hopefully be better educated and go on to do better jobs. Things like that. There's a lot of good stuff here. Healthier kids mean they're going to spend less time in hospitals. That's more money saved for the NHS. Where last time they also do homework clubs as well. Yeah, but what kind of nerd goes to homework clubs? Nerds. Let's see.
He's going to be accused of being part of the nanny state by on the debate. Sir Keir Starmer admitting he's going to be accused of being part of the nanny state by suggesting, and quite rightly addressing children's emotional health. I think there'd be no one would complain about that.
Yeah.
Is it the role of a teacher or TA, teaching assistant?
Well, I go back to the 1960s where it wasn't considered a nanny state. I went to a little Catholic school in a very poor town called Rhyl in North Wales. More than half the kids were on free school meals, big Catholic families. And we used to have, I don't know if you remember, the little third of a pint of milk
Yes,
for
I do.
every child.
Thatcher, the milk snatcher.
Yes, I
when
do.
Yeah, he is a Labour person. He's the Shadow Health Secretary, Big Wes.
Margaret Thatcher came in, she
Fake. What? What's Blood talking about?
did away with
Yeah.
that. That was to do with our health. We also had a school nurse. We also had Nitty Nora the knit nurse.
They had school nurses. What? When was this? What era was this?
Do you remember? Maybe you
have it.
didn't
I
in
didn't
your
have it.
school
No.
knit. But, half of us would
My
come out with
butler took care
purple
of that,
heads. And it
What? What's she talking about?
was considered, and we'd have a cuddle from the dinner ladies and all of that. And it was considered, particularly primary school teachers, go into teaching because they love children.
Yes.
And they do want to care for
The 80s, huh? Maybe it was a completely different time.
all of aspects of their education. And it'll
Damn, I thought this stuff was like from 100 years ago or something. Crazy. The 1980s.
be interesting how this plays out. But
Schools had a nurse. No, I can't. I don't believe that. I refuse.
So, last weekend we covered on the show about the budget for dentistry is getting lower.
What? They're cutting the NHS budget for dentistry. That's mad. That's mad. Have you seen, bro, we have charities operating in this country to help people with their dentistry. Honestly, charities that operate within developing nations. Doing dental care for people, like cleaning teeth and stuff. This is mental.
NHS dentistry. So no, I think it is time that children who need looking after are looked after.
100%. I agree with that. 100%. Any accusation of the nanny state over this kind of stuff, complete stupidity. You're just, do you just want a bunch of broken kids at that point that are gonna grow up in society that have had no help and just gonna become potential menaces? I'm not saying everyone who grows up in a broken home will be a menace, but you do increase the chance of it. Normally, a school had a nurse, or a group of schools shared a nurse. Right. That's wild. You guys grew up in a different era. Do you know? We'll discuss the Conway one in a minute. I wanted to put that at the end. There, we'll put the Conway one here. Because honestly, this is the state of before privatisation, Madge. This is the state. We've been clowned, right? I don't know what season of Simpsons this is, right? But this is how long we've been clowned by Americans mostly, but rightfully so, for the state of our teeth.
Book. The big book of British smiles.
Bruh. That's our king.
That's enough! That's enough! Dr. Wolf likes to pull kids.
That's what's happening. This clip was from the 90s, I think. This is how long we've been getting clowned by other countries.
Picture book. The bits.
You're right. I don't brush. I don't brush.
Let's look my office into a house of lies.
You're right. I don't brush. I don't brush.
Let's look at a picture book. The big book of British smiles.
Should come with a trigger warning, this.
That's enough!
Do you reckon his teeth are that bad? I doubt they're that bad. But yeah, this... Nah. We need to do something about this. I don't want to see... Less of that. Less of that, honestly. But it's a good policy, but I don't know why my one's getting can't use the words I wanted to use there, but I don't know why my man's trying to act like this is an S-tier policy. This is the GOAT policy.
After 14 years of Tory rule, even the rise in life expectancy has stalled. Children are shorter than they should be, shorter than their comparators, their peers in other...
The era of the short kings continue.
...countries. So this is an incredible statement of intent. We will improve the lives of children. And this line here, if parents treated their own children the way this government treats the nation's children, the word used would be neglect. And here is a guest from Tufton Street to tell you that the state shouldn't have any role whatsoever in any of this. Instead, it should all be the role of the parents. Just please don't ask me what happens if the parents aren't doing all the things that I insist they should be doing, because all I'll do is shout louder that the parents should be doing it. In fact, I may even punch the desk with my fist. I'll go, the parents should be doing it. And I say, but they're not. They don't know that they should be. They can't see a dentist. They're not mental health professionals. They don't know how to help people with eating disorders. Well, the parents should be doing it. That's all they've got. It's pathetic. Usually people speaking from a position of immense privilege, of great wealth. The parents should be doing it. How can a parent treat an eating disorder, you flump? These people are awful. Absolutely. Oh, here's my friend from a think tank to tell you why we shouldn't have... It's absolutely incredible what they've done to this country. First politician of my lifetime who seems prepared to fight back. Keir Starmer. Good bloody luck to him.
He's you're telling me this is the first politician who's fighting against, come on, man, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. All he's done is saying that the policies are good. Mental health professionals in schools, or a school nurse, supervised brush time, breakfast clubs. Like these are good policies, but this argument of he's fighting back against Tufton Street and all of these goons is like barely, especially when you get more stories around Labour pushing austerity. She said that public spending could only rise if the economy grew. I don't want to see a return to austerity, but to be able to generate the money to sustainably invest in our public services, you've got to grow the economy. So, yeah, clearly she's fighting back against Tufton Street and all of these goons when she's pushing austerity. Like, like, come on, bro. Like, yeah, this is a real statement of intent against Tufton Street. Okay, buddy. This man clearly wants Labour to win because he'd be vindicated, honestly. Because when I genuinely think when he called out Corbyn, I don't think he did so for the right intentions. Honestly, I think he just hated him. I think he just hated the geezer because of Brexit and all that stuff. And now he's pushing Starmer, so he'll feel, I think, personally vindicated. But I did want to cover this clip from Ed Conway about Labour's green investment, and it does kind of make Labour's plans look a bit shit, to be honest. But there's some good stuff in here. I think his analysis here is quite cool.
Labour say they want to spend £28 billion on green investment. The government, the Chancellor, says that could be a big problem for their fiscal rules. Who is right?
I mean, the Tories set the fiscal rules, and the fiscal rules can be changed by whoever's in government, so it don't really matter.
Well, let's just have a look. We'll start with the big story here, which is the state of the public finances here. You can see that we spend a lot of money, that bar at the bottom there, £1.2 trillion a year. We bring in terms of taxes, the government does at least £1.1 trillion. You can see there's a gap between the two of them. Look at that gap. What's that? That's the deficit. That's where we have to borrow potentially to make the sums add up. But if we just kind of have a look at what's behind each of these bars, look at taxes. Most of that's income tax, VAT, corporation tax and other bits and pieces. When it comes to
other is quite big, isn't it?
Spending, which is the bit we want to focus on here, you've got welfare, you've got health, you've got education. They're very big indeed. Net investment, look, I'll just highlight it. It's this slice here. It's not small, it's not massive either, though. And if we just take it and we kind of have a look and consider the...
Man, I wish I had graphics like this. This is so cool.
Big investment picture. And this is investment on all things, so including hospitals, schools and everything else. 71 billion...
Infrastructure spending, I think, would be the best way to explain it. Maybe? I don't know.
Pounds, £72 billion, give or take a year. A lot of people are wondering, does this mean if Labour wants to spend £28 billion, it just raises that by £28 billion? Well, not quite, because some of this red bit is already green investment. About £8 billion of it is existing green investment. So, in fact, Labour say they just want to raise that so it's £28 billion in total. So you can see what looks or sounds like a £28 billion pledge is actually a £20 billion pledge.
Now, I find this frustrating. I find this frustrating because Labour are touting this out to be 28 billion, so it sounds like a much higher number than it actually is. It might explain why it's not a rounded figure. So really, it's only 20 billion, which I think, the more money we pour into this, I think the better it will be long term. So it's a bit frustrating. Geez, Germans buying up all the patents and IPs, mad.
But all the same, it does make an impact. And if you look at the big picture for investment, you kind of see that, but it may be not quite what you're expecting. This is what the government plans imply for total investment.
So we can see public net investment. Right, let's go back a sec. Let's go here. So under Labour, it went up. Yeah, there we go. Look, so this is under, I'm assuming, Major. Look, that would have been the previous Labour government before Thatcher and Major. You can see it's gone down a lot. It's well below the average with those two. And it went up quite significantly under Labour, came back down during the recession, and it's gone. Let's see, this is COVID right here. That makes sense. So it's come back down. So Labour have really pushed out the average. I wonder if you took out this period of Labour spending, right, how low the average would be.
You kind of see that, but it may be not
always world leading.
Quite what you're expecting. This is what the government plans imply for total investment, government investment spending in the coming years. So you can see it goes up a bit and then comes down. The Labour plans, if you assume they're all going ahead, look, it's different, but it's still coming down. So not coming down quite as quickly, but nonetheless, it is coming down in terms of total investment. How about the fiscal rules? Well, of course, the government does have this big fiscal rule, which is about trying to get the national debt down. So this is the national debt as a percentage of GDP. The higher it is, the higher the national debt. And they want, by the end of the 5-year forecast horizon, to see it falling. And if you look really closely, you can maybe just about make out that dashed line is slightly going down. What would the Labour plans imply? Well, this is back-of-envelope stuff, OK? But
it's rough math planning, but look.
Here's what they might well imply. That line going up a bit rather than down a bit. And technically, yes, that means they just about break their fiscal rules. But of course, it does depend on whether they want to cut it in the following year. So there's a lot of ifs and buts about this. But
I can't see the economy growing much in that period of time either. But again, it's Labour who set the fiscal rules. They can change the fiscal rules. It doesn't, this stuff is nonsense.
Big picture, really, is this one. The UK is a low investment nation, OK? So when we're looking at how much the government is investing, it's quite low versus most other countries around the developed world. And if Labour's plans do go ahead, have a look at this red bar here. You can maybe just about make out it goes up by maybe a few pixels if those plans come in. If the Conservative plans are implemented, look at the bar.
Ooh.
It goes down because you're seeing investment falling quite a lot. So
let's see where we'd be.
Go ahead.
So let's see where we are. So Portugal, public investment by country. This is a percentage GDP. This is interesting to me because I thought Spain would be higher because Spain and Portugal I think have invested a lot into green energy or green technology, but this is public investment. This is total public investment by each country, so they might not invest in other areas, which is interesting. Or they might just be more efficient with it, given the amount of money that we've given to Tory cronies. That wouldn't surprise me, but we are way below the OECD average there. The USA, Turkey, I guess it makes sense because this percentage GDP. Look, France is quite high. Poland is up there. I can't see who the rest of.
Have a look at this red bar by maybe a few pixels. It goes down because you're seeing investment falling quite a lot. So that is really the big picture at the moment. But there are still many months left until the election, and doubtless we will hear more from all of the parties involved.
So this is quite interesting. Like the money isn't as high as Labour have made out. So therefore, the Tories, it's not that. It's Labour are dumb. They shouldn't have said 28. They should have said 20. It makes the figure less, and so it's harder to attack. I don't know. I don't think they played it very smart here. I'll be honest. But at the same time, there is a lot of fear mongering about borrowing. I think Labour will invest the money better than the Tories have done. How much better? I don't know. But yeah, it's all about making the use of the money effective. Spain almost 100% can run its country off renewables. Hence, they see that makes sense. If they've already completed the game, then it makes sense that their thing's fallen off a bit. Moving on to next topic, which is about Richie Tice, and Richie Tice sounds like a fusion of Tyson and Sunak. But him being called out.
Of what gives you the right to cut funding for the NHS for a man who's inherited millions from your grandfather. You have many companies.
Oh, right. So Tice comes from generational wealth. Why does that not surprise me?
Privately school educated.
Wow.
I have children who are diabetic, type 1, by the way, insulin dependent.
So type 1 is genetic. Type 1 is the one, it doesn't matter what you do, you're born with it.
Pancreases.
The NHS probably saved the life of my eldest son about 5 or 6 months ago. So
he's doing a David Cameron. He's doing a David Cameron when David Cameron was like, how dare you try and accuse me of trying to cut the NHS. The NHS saved my son's life. He's doing a David Cameron.
I too have benefited from the excellent frontline care. Everybody I speak to who works in the NHS, they all admit that the...
And who have you spoken to? How many have you spoken to?
Waste, the incompetence, the mismanagement, that is the point. So I'm saying we're not cutting the front line. You
did tell me that.
No, Nick, hear me out. I did not say you cut the front line. What you've got to cut is the unnecessary, wasteful back office spending. That is a big, massive difference. And that's what happens in the world of business. You say you've got to keep...
But no business can run like the NHS.
Well, let's look at the outcomes, shall we? Sadly, the NHS outcomes are amongst the worst in the developed world.
Do you believe in the NHS?
Of course I believe in the...
Do you use private healthcare?
Nick, I've just explained that my children, and I've also used the NHS, we've all benefited from the NHS.
He didn't answer the question. He was asked, do you use private care? He didn't answer the question, so...
NHS.
But you use private health as well?
We use both.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah, of course.
But here's the point, that I think it's really, really essential that the NHS accept that the outcomes are not good enough. And actually, the Labour Party also accept that. They recognise that we've got to use independent healthcare and other mechanisms in order to get the waiting list down. That's a key part of our policy.
So a budget of £180 billion broadly per annum, that would stay the same?
So I think the...
So you wouldn't look for 5%?
What you've got to do is you've got to have the efficiency cuts. You've got to say to people, we can't keep spending more and more money and getting worse and worse outcomes.
Would it stay at 180 billion?
Let's just look overall. Right?
Can you answer the question?
This is a slippery guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Would it stay at 180 billion?
Look, I think overall the number should stay the same. But what you've got to do is you've got to get the efficiency cuts. The demand is going...
He's not on his brief. He's struggling. Imagine getting pieced up by Nick Ferrari. Imagine. It could not be me. That's all I'm saying. It could not be me.
We've got to use more independent healthcare as well, because otherwise...
What's private healthcare?
Independent healthcare, private healthcare.
What's in...
He's trying to be slippery, isn't he? He's not working for him.
Independent healthcare. That's private healthcare, right?
Because non-NHS healthcare is independent. It's outside the NHS, whether it's private, whether it's charity.
Oh, I see. You want the charitable sector to come.
No, because some of the non-NHS healthcare providers are actually charities.
Right.
I think they'd be talking about hospices, I believe. But yeah, that did not go well for him there. Here we've got Sadiq Khan actually combating Brexit.
Brexit isn't working.
Sorry, this audio's ass. We'll leave this. But he does talk about the impact on the economy. 30 billion smaller than it would have been. Wait, London has lost 30 billion. Is he sure about that? £3,400 worse off in 2023. He's put his tweets on private because people are idiots.
More money in people's pockets. What we're focused on is getting inflation down. That is, at the end of the day, that is the one single thing you can do that will put more money in people's pockets. Is if prices aren't rising exponentially and you're earning each year more than you are last year, net, you will be better off.
It's not even true, though, is it? Unless your wages are increasing higher than inflation, you're not going to be better off net. So here's another person who doesn't understand economics. This is Starmer supporting the attacks on the Houthi rebels.
I did get a secure briefing last night from the Cabinet Office. Obviously, I can't tell you what the contents of that briefing was, but it is, I think, important that we had that briefing. When Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, I had a phone call with him on the first night, and amongst other things, we...
Thank you, Kevon Slims. Where can I find Khan's Brexit speech? Do you know what, right? Do you know what, for that, right? Because you did ask for it, to be fair. The audio here is terrible. Wait, where'd it go? Did I not? No. What? Oh, that's the other tab. That makes sense. I closed both tabs. Alright, I'll tell you what. We'll listen to it. You didn't have to do a super chat for that, mate, but I appreciate it.
Isn't working.
Is it this you're talking about? Is this what you want? Because we'll go for it.
To be honest, I'd rather not have to talk about...
It might be there, the implausible blog. That's where it could be.
Brexit again. But part of being the mayor of London is standing up for our city. And rather than dodging or ducking this issue, it's incumbent on all of us to have an honest and mature discussion about the best way forward. Because the hard-line version of Brexit we've ended up with is dragging our economy down and pushing up the cost of living. It's making food more expensive. It's adding to the acute pressures on households. And it's having an ongoing detrimental impact on industries that are crucial to our success. Hospitality, construction, and the financial services. So we have to be frank. Brexit is simply not a peripheral concern that we can leave in the past, but a key contributor to the cost of living crisis right now.
Yeah, it's true. This is a good speech. I'll drop it in the chat. There might be a way for you to find it, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure where it would be, to be honest. Oops. I think that should hopefully work. But the NHS is leading top 3 on efficiency and lowest. Yeah, QA. I'm gonna need you to send me some stuff on that. Actually, that'll be quite good. That'll be good to use in the actual segment. If you got anything on that, I'll take that. So here's Starmer supporting it.
We agreed that we would robustly challenge each other on the politics of the day, but when it comes to national security issues of defence of the country, that we would seek to cooperate and work together. So it's not a convention, but it is, I think, good that as leader of the opposition I was brought in for a secure briefing in relation to what was happening.
You have given this military action your full support, is that correct?
Yes, we are supporting this action. The Houthi attacks are being carried out.
The Houthi, who?
Now for some time in the Red Sea. It's on commercial shipping, that's civilians who are operating that commercial shipping. And not only is it disrupting trade and shipping, but of course it's putting civilian lives at risk, and therefore we do support this action. I do want the Prime Minister...
Is it legal, though? Is the action legal? Are we legally justified in doing this?
Actually, to make a statement to Parliament as soon as possible, because the scope, nature and extent of the operation needs to be explained. Now, obviously, it's not for me to disclose what's been briefed to me. But I do think the public and Parliament need to know, so that should happen. I'd also want a summary of the government's legal position to be published. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
You literally, bro, you just said you support it, so how are you going to support something without knowing the legal justifications for it? It don't make sense. Or, the legal advice that was given.
I anticipate they will do that, but we do need that level of transparency and accountability so that your viewers and everybody else gets a better understanding.
It doesn't make sense, this argument he's making here, and this from Layla Moran, which is very much the opposite, to be honest with you. This clip doesn't want to play. It's going to play. Frustration has set in on set. Okay, we'll leave this be. Sad times. Oh. What the hell's going on with Twitter's media player? This is a Twitter problem. Oh no. I can't. No.
£1 billion.
Why is this one working?
So they want to...
This one I want to do is a separate video, but we'll nix it. Why are some of these videos not working? What the hell's going on? Oh, I'm so mad. Yeah, no worries. You got a couple. I've got a couple of days to do the video, anyways. I've got other stuff in the works for byline and political acts, also due to court case. I'll be off most of February. Yeah, no worries. If you can't do it, you can't do it. That's fine. What's going on with this video? I don't get it. I guess that segment's next, anyways.
Screen investment plan.
Did you see the interview Farage Cavon carrying the chat? Did you see the interview Farage did with Stephen Husak about the abject failure of Brexit? I have not seen that. No. No. Let's have a look. Nigel Farage, Stephen Husak? I can't spell Stephen. Great. Stefan. Is it Steph? Bro, I'm so dead with names. Stefan. Steve? Oh well, we move. They look real stupid. Oh, is it this?
That we would start to do.
Are you talking about this? Oh, what's this? What is it? Someone's asked me a question in... Is it this you're talking about?
More trade around the rest of the world.
Tell you what, mate, you confirm it. If it's this, we'll give it a watch. Oh god, sorry, I'm hitting the mic. Alright, cool. Yeah, we'll give it a watch if you want. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We'll sort that out. Next these.
And so on Thursday, you said that if the fiscal rules don't allow it, we'll borrow less. You were pushed on LBC.
Do you know, we're cooking Starmer a lot, to be honest. I did Let's see. This is the other segment I want to do here. This is on David Cameron's performance at the Select Committee, which was really bad. David Cameron told MPs he was worried Israel may have broken international law. He had seen deeply concerning things, but it wasn't his job to make legal adjudication. I'm worried that Israel has taken the action that might be in breach of international law because this particular premises has been bombed or whatever. Yes, of course. Okay. So we go on to, this is Blinken.
Is one of the many reasons.
So this is about South Africa taking legal action. No, taking Israel to court. The ICC over. Is it the IC? Would it be the ICJ? Oh, I need to keep up to date with this stuff more. Taking Israel to court with the allegations of genocide. So this is Blinken.
We continue to stand with Israel in ensuring that October 7th can never happen again. It's also why we're intensely focused on bringing the remaining hostages home.
How are you going to find the hostages when Israel carpet bombing them? I don't get it.
The humanitarian crisis and strengthening protection for civilians in Gaza.
What protections?
And preventing the conflict from spreading. And it's the reason we're working urgently to forge a path toward lasting peace and security in this region. We believe the submission against Israel to the International Court of Justice distracts the world from all of these important efforts. And moreover, the charge of genocide
distracts the world. It's not up to the world to solve this crisis. It's up to your boss, big man. He's one of the major players in this conflict.
Is meritless. It's particularly galling, given that those who are attacking Israel, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, as well as
the Houthis haven't attacked Israel, have they?
Their supporter Iran, continue to openly call for the annihilation of Israel and the mass murder of Jews.
Okay, and one is committing a mass murder, and the other side is not. Like, no, yeah, I mean, arguably, actually, October 7th was attempted mass murder, or it was mass murder, but there's one side that is actively ethnic cleansing the other side, and it's not the Iranians in this case. But this is Cameron's awful performance.
Am I worried that Israel has taken action that might be in breach of international law because this particular premises has been bombed or whatever? Yes.
What the hell's going on?
Of course I'm worried about that, and that's why I consult the Foreign Office lawyers when giving this advice on arms exports. So that's why I don't... So if you put it that...
Can you publish a summary of the advice that you've received?
I'm happy to say, yes, of course. Every day I look at what's happened and ask questions about, is this in line with international humanitarian law? Could the Israelis have done better to avoid civilian casualties? Of course I do that.
Foreign Secretary, what assessment have you made of the Israeli ambassador's claim that every school, mosque and every second house in Gaza has access to tunnels and ammunition? Now, she said that in a television interview, and when pressed on whether that means the complete destruction of Gaza by Israel, she replied, and I quote, "Do you have another solution?" So in your opinion, was she freelancing when she was speaking to that television interviewer, or was she speaking for the Israeli government?
I don't know. I would hope that is
she's your counterpart. She's an ambassador. She's the ambassador to the UK. Why didn't you ask her? Why don't you pull her into your office and be like, bro, what's this about? Why did you not do that? That's your job.
Not the position of the Israeli government, because it's the wrong position.
Honestly, it's shocking. It's shocking how bad his performance was here. Joe, this is a transcript. Let's see. I think I've got the clip. Oh, okay. This is in the wrong order. Let's move this over here somewhere.
Regards itself as an occupying force, but whether that is correct, I would want to take legal advice, because this comes to this issue about aid, where I think Israel needs to do more, a lot more, to get more aid into Gaza, which perhaps we can come on to.
Forgive me, we know that Israel does not consider itself to be an occupying power, but British law currently does consider Gaza to be an occupied power. Can you, an occupied territory? Can you just confirm that on the record?
I don't know the precise legal definition of that. I'd have to go back and check.
Philip?
Literally your job, bruv.
I think we all know that the Foreign Office does know what the official legal position is.
We describe the territories as the occupied Palestinian territories, but
that's a different question.
That's a descriptor.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should give you a piece of written advice on the legal position.
I think what the chair's asking is, do we consider Gaza to be occupied militarily at the moment. Is that what you're getting at?
I'm asking for the British government's legal definition, whatever they consider to be the terminology of that you occupy, because as I understand it, there is no question that in law, under British law and according to the UN Security Council Regulation 22334, on which we have based our legal position, Gaza is...
It's South Africa, someone's messaged, South Africa sued Israel in the ICU, not the ICC, or ICJ, International Court of Justice, okay.
Occupied territory.
So, he's struggling, Dave, you know, he's been out of the game for a while.
Francis, just take back for a moment. What is the UK's current legal position?
We've covered most of this.
Do we consider Gaza to be...
UN Security Council Regulation 22334, on which we have based our legal position, Gaza is an occupied territory, and therefore from that, Israel does have obligations as an occupying power, whether or not they consider it to be or not. British law does state that, and I would consider it quite fundamental that we knew.
Where I think Israel needs to do more.
I'm just trying to see.
We described the territory.
Just trying to see which clips are worth getting rid of.
Exactly from what premise we were operating.
Okay, well, as you know, we refer to them as the occupied Palestinian territories, but obviously Gaza was left by Israel. But I think the question you're asking now is what Israel's done, is that technically an occupation, and therefore do they have legal obligation? The point I would make is, look, whether or not they are de jure occupying, they are de facto occupying Gaza, and therefore when it comes to this issue of aid delivery, we need them to do more.
I mean, as the occupier, they have to. Oh, geez, Kevon, he's really going for it, though. Why does the UK government always follow the US into these destabilising wars, but we here in the US never feel the negative results like mass immigration? Cause these are two different things. Here, I'll show you. I can explain some of this stuff for you. Google, right? So let's look at. Oops, it's got my location on it. That's the real question. Okay, let's get rid of that. Okay, I'm trying to my best to not dox myself, right? So let's have a look. Okay. Thanks, Google, for that. Okay, let's try that. I can't do it. So let's have a look at the map, right? This will give us all the answers we're looking for. So when we look at the wars, right? This is the United States. This is the UK. These are the areas the wars are happening in, right? If we look at Afghanistan, around here, this is the Yemen. This is these would be there it is, the Gulf of Aden, the Red Sea. Right, this is where the conflict's happening, right? Here you have conflicts in some of the African countries as well. Some of these other African countries around. Obviously, there's Somalia there. So when you look at where refugees would go, they're not going to go this way towards Asia. They could go towards Saudi Arabia, but these countries wouldn't take them. If you look at where Europe is, it's very close to these parts of the Middle East, and people would be fleeing this way, say towards Greece. So you got Libya here. They'll be going towards Greece. It's the closest one. Italy is very close as well, and then from there they would be going towards potentially the United Kingdom, towards France, etc. Right? The reason why America doesn't suffer from the refugee crisis in terms of from the Middle East is because you guys are all the way over here. Now, if you talk about the impacts of mass migration and kind of refugees in America, there's a reason why you have many kind of South American countries. We wouldn't be impacted by refugees coming out of. What was the country that has the highest crime rate? Is it El Salvador? Where is El Salvador? Oh, damn, geography is not my strong suit. Somewhere around here, maybe, I'm showing my ignorance here, is El Salvador, right? El Salvador, now the UK would not suffer from refugee crisis from South American countries because they have to go all the way over here. You ain't crossing that. So that's why. It's because of geography. Central America, where is... I swear it's Costa Rica. Oh, do you know what? Central America. Central America is around here, right? Where are you, El Salvador? Really showing my lack of geography skills here. Somewhere closer. Do I have to zoom? Haiti, Puerto Rico. This is humbling. This is absolutely humbling right now. Honduras. Ah, there you are, El Salvador, right? So when you look at El Salvador, which had, I'm not sure if it has it anymore. It had the highest murder rate per capita, right? So if you're fleeing from El Salvador, right, where are you going to go? Now, I don't know the political state of Honduras or Nicaragua, Costa Rica or Panama, but you're not that far from America. So you're going to go this way potentially, maybe to Mexico or maybe to the country that calls itself the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. And so that's where you're going to go. So if you're from here, Libya, right, there's no way you're going to Haiti. Oh, what, the highest murder rate per capita? That'd be nuts. There's no way you're going to get from Libya to America. Like, you're not going to be crossing borders to go over there. But you can get to Italy. And once you get to Italy, all of Europe pretty much opens up. You've got Austria on the border. You got Croatia. If you want to go there, they're doing. I think they're doing okay economically. Switzerland, France, on the border here, and you've got the United Kingdom's not far. So once you cross and you make it into Italy, it's not too bad. My local trust said they're spending 650 million so far on digitizing the medical record system and handing the data to an American mega. Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but the reason why the USA doesn't have the negative impacts of kind of mass immigration is because of geography. Just like if you're seeking refuge from, I don't know, like Venezuela, or say for example if you live here in Guyana, right, and you're scared Venezuela are going to invade, you're not coming to the UK. It's too far. You're not going to Europe. It's too far. Unless you've got family members over there, you're going north. There's a reason why there are so many Cubans in Florida. It's because it's close. People have made that crossing before. It's geography, to answer your question, Kevon. Hopefully that does it. Let's get rid of that. Oh boy, I'm going to be in big trouble. El Salvador, Honduras, etc. But Panama, yeah. The Darien Gap for your homework. I don't do homework. I've not done homework for a long time. But anyways, yeah, she's absolutely piecing them up here to carry on.
The statistics today that I have for the record, where 1.9 million people have been displaced, 70% of Gaza's residential buildings have been destroyed, most schools have been destroyed, most hospitals have been rendered inoperable. And this week, the International Criminal...
I'm not talking about geography, I'm talking about the political cost. Yeah, in terms of political cost, the reason why people aren't going from the Middle East to America is because of geography. That's the problem. You can't get there. Is that what you're asking about? In terms of mass immigration, people aren't going from the Middle East to America. Like people are not seeking refuge from the Middle East to America because of geography. Because you can't physically get there. That's why. If you think about, if you get to France, you can take the Dover-Calais crossing and go to Dover. That's the problem, is geography. Sorry, my friend's texting me. All right, we're gonna have to hurry this up a little bit. In terms of the political cost, it depends. It depends on who you ask and what country you're talking about specifically. That's the problem, because in terms of for the UK, we haven't taken as many refugees as other countries have per capita, not even close. But the reason they keep talking about it is because they don't want to talk about the things that are impacting people's lives, like the economy. For example, that's the problem. In a country like France, it is making a lot of changes, I think. In Italy as well. I'm trying to remember which other countries there are. On the southern border, we're also getting migrants from Haiti. It's a mess. Yeah, that's predominantly the problem. Like, it's because the geography is so different. Like, you guys are so far away from the Middle East. Like, it's not going to impact you guys that much. But in terms of the politics of it, in terms of the politics of it, it's not great, to be honest. So I hope that answers your question. We're going to rush through it a bit here.
The court will hold public hearings on South Africa's application under obligations relating to the Genocide Convention. Could you give your views on that, the government's views?
Well, first of all, on the South Africa case to, I think it's the International Court of Justice rather than the International Criminal Court. But I mean, I don't think that is helpful. I don't agree with it. I don't think it's right. I don't think we should, bandy round terms like genocide in this case. I don't think that's correct. That doesn't change our long-standing position that ultimately it's courts to decide to define genocide, not for states.
Bro, like, that's why they're going to court. That's why they're going to the court. It's literally what they're doing. Oh my, this man's an idiot. This man's so dumb. How else is the court going to decide if no one takes it to the court? And obviously their argument is that Israel committing a genocide. That's the argument they've taken to the court. This man's a balloon head. God damn.
But I'm very, very clear about that. In terms of what I said about Gaza, it's been unsatisfactory for...
Mr. Potato Head, he's an idiot.
If you're asking, am I worried that Israel has
done this one?
Legal position on whether or not Gaza is occupied.
Done this one.
And just Lord Cameron, just to clarify, so you have received no advice at any point from any government lawyer that states that Israel is in breach of international humanitarian law?
That's not what I said.
No, that's why I'm asking you to clarify.
Yes, well, I'm going to give exactly the same answer all over again, which is what my role is, right?
I'm not interested in the role, I'm interested in the legal advice you've received.
Yes, well, the legal advice I've received is consistent with the fact that we have not changed our export.
It's not about arms exports, it's about international humanitarian.
Also, Kevon, thanks for the super chats. It means a lot. I don't know if you're new to the channel, but don't worry about doing super chats if you've got questions. I don't mind answering them. Chat's normally pretty quiet anyway, so feel free to ask any more questions if you want. I am trying to finish in the next 20 minutes though, but in future I will plan this out a lot better, I promise.
Law being upheld when it comes to aid, when it comes to the way in which airstrikes have been prosecuted, everything else. We're one question on arms exports, we've moved from them in any realm, in any respect. So you've never had a piece of paper put in front of you by a Foreign Office lawyer that says that Israel is in breach of its international humanitarian commitments under international humanitarian law.
Look, the reason for not answering this question, I can't recall every single bit of paper that's been put in front of me.
And just look,
just all you had to say was, have any of the lawyers said to you that Israel is breaking international law? That's all you had to say. I don't think she kind of asked the question the best there, but all you had to say was yes or no. Honestly, it's so stupid.
Obligations to occupy.
Done this one. Sorry. This stuff on Labour. I've done probably too much on Labour, I think, in this stream.
How long you?
So it's something I'll keep in mind in future. But this is stuff he's talking about the flood task force.
How long have you been living here?
I've been in this house, I think it's 45 years now.
In 45 years, you've never seen anything like that?
I have never seen it.
So this was the flooding recently, and it's good he's gone out there and he's actually spoken to people. I think this humanises him quite a lot and puts his face out there. But when he's asked about, he's saying Ian's home was destroyed by flooding. Kaz and Carl's pub has been become a hub to support local residents. I think this stuff is good. This goes over here. But when he's asked about what's he going to do about it, right, he comes out of this nonsense.
I just don't think it's good enough for the government to come after the event again and express empathy, get ahead of this with a task force. That's what I would do.
Would Labour commit more money to this?
Well, of course it does need money, but the task force is not just about money. It's about getting the basics done, getting those drains cleared, getting...
That's going to cost money, big man.
The local authorities together, having a plan, but doing it early in the year. This flooding always happens in December, January, February. We know that. What we got to do is in the early autumn, get a task force together, get local plans together to make sure that all measures are taken to prevent this.
This is another one where Labour could argue, how can we afford not to do this, given the amount of damage flooding does to people's houses?
And to ensure the response is very rapid, because the devastation of people's lives, talking to some families here who've got young children, Some people haven't got insurance, so they've lost a huge amount of their possessions, and this cost the economy, since 2010, about £4 billion.
There's your answer. There's the cost. There's the cost, £4 billion. In terms of if we built flood defences, we could save potentially billions, right? There's your answer right there, is how can we afford not to do this? It's very simple, honestly. We've got more
energy into those central missions and setting out the first steps of those missions already. 1.5 million houses to be built under an incoming Labour government. 2 million appointments for the NHS to get the backlog.
Those are goals, not specific policies.
That's what I mean. It's just, this is the kind of the stuff early on we spoke about was good, but here it's just
already 1.5 million houses to be built under an incoming Labour government. 2 million appointments for the NHS to get the backlog.
Those are goals, not specific policies.
And that's the problem Labour keep not failing to understand, is we want specific policies. It's not about, we want to achieve these things. It's how are you going to achieve these things? That's what I want to see. It's doing my head in, honestly. Like, we're going to do a task force. You can give them more money. Look. And then he's just like, look, man, our task force isn't just about money. We need to get people together. And to do what? Are you going to say we need to clear out the drains? It's like, it's going to cost this much. It's like, we don't have the money to do it. That's all you're going to hear. And they'll be even worse when the flooding happens, because it would have been even more avoidable, honestly. That
Rwanda still has human rights issues. They're just admitting it, but it's something that's been widely known before now, Kezia.
Yes, that's right. And I think in any other week, this might have been a front page story were it not for what's happening in the middle.
That's Kezia Dugdale, but I'm not sure if that is her.
At least. But this relates to what's been called an evidence pack given to MPs today by the Home Secretary James Cleverly, which comes from the Home Office, publishing details about all the changes they've made since that legal challenge last September and the improvements that they've made with regards to this Rwandan policy. The problem is that this policy statement, this evidence pack, has buried in it the suggestion that whilst Rwanda is now relatively a peaceful country with respect for the rule of law, there are nevertheless issues with its human rights records. Something that your average person on the street could have told you, particularly if you oppose the government in Rwanda, if you show any dissent, if you are gay, if you want to use your rights to free speech. There are consistent problems there. So I think this would have reheated a lot of the tensions we've seen in the Conservative Party around.
This is, this in the context of the Home Office saying they're not sure about the Rwanda plan. Oh, that is Kezia. I thought it was, right? And so when we go to Laura Trott, I think her name is, this just not go well for her.
Rwanda scheme is good value for money.
I do.
How much is it going to cost? How much does it cost so far?
And so for anyone who argues that the people don't ask the Tories about how much they cost, they do. It's just not. They just don't do it enough. But this is going to be interesting.
Oh.
Well, it's cost a lot of money so far, but the point is that it's not operational yet. I think it's 290 million, but I think it's
that good
not
value
operational.
For money?
Well, because the point is that it's not operational yet, Paul. So we're spending millions and millions and millions of pounds every day putting up asylum seekers in hotels, and we're moving them out into other accommodation as well. And there's a fundamental principle of fairness here. This is not fair that people are jumping the queue, that the government doesn't get to decide.
People aren't jumping the queue because their claims will be heard, unless their emergency claims will be heard when they're put in. So no one's jumping the queue here.
Who is in this country, and so we think it's right that there is a deterrent scheme. We know that deterrence works. We know that returns agreements work.
When has the deterrent worked? When has the deterrent worked? Honestly, Australia has an offshore processing facility. Has that worked? Has that reduced the numbers?
Because we have one with Albania.
A return scheme works. Yeah, it makes sense because people whose claims get rejected, they can be returned. That makes sense. Like, the returns would make sense. As a deterrent, doesn't really make sense.
Reduce the number of Albanians coming over here by 90%. So
it's the returns log that's done it, though. The return scheme that's done it. It's not the bloody. It's not the Rwanda scheme that's done it, because it's not even operational. She admitted.
Always believed in the Prime Minister hasn't always believed in the benefits of the Rwanda scheme, though, has he? Not when he was Chancellor. Not when he was in your department.
No, I don't think that's true. Well, I think that obviously I haven't seen the individual documents. I assume you're talking about the leaked documents.
Why haven't you seen those documents? Because the story's been out for 24 hours now. Why haven't you seen the documents?
Are the documents available? I don't know. I mean, I've been told about them, but I haven't seen the actual...
They're government documents, and it was in the Treasury. Rishi Sunak was in the Treasury, your department at the time. Those documents exist and belong to the Treasury. It was correspondence between the Treasury and Number 10. Why haven't you seen the documents? You've had 24 hours.
I don't know. I haven't seen the documents. What can I say, Paul?
I would have pulled them up. I would have pulled them up and say, here's the documents. Here, read them. Read them quick.
So I think you should be getting on someone in your department and saying, why haven't you given me the documents? I'm the Chief Secretary of the Treasury. I want to see those documents. It's a pretty key story in the rounds today. The reason really you're saying you haven't seen the documents...
Are they even publicly available?
Well, they're available to the Treasury, yes. So you'll be able to see them. You are the Chief Secretary of the Treasury. You can demand whichever documents you want from the Treasury.
Look, I haven't seen the documents, Paul, but the point is that the Prime Minister has introduced the strongest people...
This is wow. This is painful. And the thing is, I don't know how competent she is as a minister, but she did a good job holding Boris Johnson accountable. So it's either the case that the Tories, when people become Tory ministers, they become incredibly stupid and evasive, or they're just not bright at all. And this has been a very poor performance from her and a really good interview. I'm not familiar with his name, unfortunately, but he's done a very good job here. And there's more from Laura Trott.
And we are spending millions and millions and millions of pounds on housing illegal migration, people coming over here, which is just wrong. It's not fair. It's not right. I'm a Kent MP. I see the impact this has had on children's services in terms of accommodation.
The reason why children's services in Kent are garbage is because of your government. Like, they've been garbage for about over a decade now. This argument makes no sense whatsoever. She's blaming refugees. The reason why we're paying so much for these hotels is because they're not processing people's claims. If you process the claims quicker, there wouldn't be as many people in the hotels. Like, this is genuine stupidity right here. This geezer seems like a decent interviewer. I don't know if he pulls her up on it, but this is embarrassing. Embarrassing from Laura Trott, honestly. And it ties into that, which is the Rwanda scheme has human rights issues. It may never get off the ground. If the government are hinging their bets on it, it don't make sense. And for Kevon, we'll go through this as the last one of the day. And once again, thank you for the super chats, my man.
Your figures out today suggest we're not really doing that.
That's correct. It's actually quite interesting to see is that as a total share of UK trade, the EU makes up now more than it did all the way going back till 2008, actually. And so that's quite a surprising number. And when we look at that, that sounds on the surface like that's saying that trade with the EU has been going up. When in reality, actually, it's that trade with non-EU countries has been going down recently. And so what that is this is something that both sides were kind of wrong about. We had a lot of economists that were saying that there was going to be a cliff edge, that Brexit was going to cause trade with the EU to, just fall off and was going to damage the UK economy. And the other side was saying that, well, Brexit is going to allow us to boost trade with our non-UK partners and see new growth.
Brexit is going to help us increase trade with our non-UK partners. Did he mean EU partners?
And expansion. And pretty much what these results show is that neither side were right. We're seeing stability, if not stagnation, with the EU, but then we're not seeing that growth happen with non-EU countries.
No. Despite the fact we've signed a whole series of new trade deals, we inherited some from the European Union, but signed some of our own. No, it's funny this, isn't it? I mean, on the one hand, it's good news.
I want to see how he spins this. This is fun.
You say, because our trade with Europe's not really been damaged at all. I mean, people want our goods and we want theirs and we go on.
It's stagnant, but if you look at just the financial amounts, unless you're counting in inflation, you're not doing a great job. I mean, and because it's stagnant, it's not something to celebrate, is it? Is stagnation worth celebration?
On doing business. But it is bad news because I've always taken the view that, yes, the European market's next door, and that's helpful in many ways. But in terms of global GDP, in terms of the global pie, it's about 15% of the world. It'll be 10% of the world in 5 years' time, and it's the new markets where the growth is. So, what is it?
What new? Who are you doing trade with? What are you gonna sell? What are you gonna sell to people in other countries? Black pudding, beans on toast. Like what are we selling to other countries? Genuinely, apart from financial services, right? What are we selling to other countries? What are they gonna want to buy from us?
What do you think we're getting wrong here?
I think that, for one, that the government has really focused on these trade deals being PR successes. quickly get them out, make sure that they look like really good deals. But the problem is that they're not looking hard enough at the substance at many of these. These trade deals, for one, are maybe being overpromised that they're going to have immediate impacts or are going to immediately benefit. These take time. Imagine if there's a UK business that is trading a lot with Germany, but all of a sudden here's that Australia opens up. They're going to start maybe looking into building those trade.
There's quotas as well and limits. So like, it's not as cut and dry as they can just export to Australia straight away. Like, there's still a lot of research they would have to do.
Relations with them, but that takes time to build that, to find a clientele and everything. And so
that's what, the first 2024 the UK was out of the single market. That's not true.
They're not going to see immediate results, and to promise that, I think, is misleading the public.
Well, that's called politics, yes. But isn't the truth that also, whether you have a trade deal or not, there are many profitable trading relationships even where there's tariff involved.
That's true.
If you've got a product that somebody wants to buy at a price they think's acceptable, they will buy it anyway. Clearly, we're not making the right products.
Well, I think we need to...
We're not making much. Manufacturing's, I think it's dying month on month, is it not? So what are we going to sell to people, honestly?
Look at where our strengths are. And the thing is that the UK of the 80s is not the UK now as far as what...
What? That's crazy.
...was the big things. If we look at the research that we've done at UK and Changing Europe, services are one of the biggest strengths. The numbers are actually looking really good with the UK. With services have been very resilient and has been really good.
It's because we still have agreements on services with the EU. Like, the EU haven't fully taken those out yet. So that's why we're still looking strong in services. The UK is still, to an extent, being able to export certain services to the EU.
Going up and has been kind of keeping our trade up. And so I think what it needs to look at is that we need to look
services at being insurance, products like that.
Financial, yes, exactly. It's not as much the construction of that product as it is the selling of the services, the software.
Euro clearing ends in June 2025. We have heard that before. We have heard it was meant to have ended by now. So we're still waiting for that, and there will be I can't remember the exact role McGuinness has, but she will be replaced by someone else.
Softwares, the consulting, those other governments, we have a lot of expertise, we have a lot of knowledge.
Because the only McGuinness we respect in this house is Terry McGuinness.
Legal services.
Exactly.
We provide a lot of medical services. Now, there are many things we're good at, but what about manufacturing? Because we keep hearing...
Manufacturing is trash, bro.
The story that British manufacturing is doing rather better than we think.
That is a difficult one, and I think that's one that
You have already changed it twice, I think. They've already changed it twice. They set the deadline twice, and I think they've moved it twice. So this idea that the EU aren't going to move again is fanciful. Like, they could do it.
A lot of factors that are going into it that makes it hard to say. Where one is that within manufacturing, we need to look to the future, and where that is that regardless of what party it is, a lot is going towards green manufacturing, whether it's for our country or for another country. And so looking at how we can be competitive within this new sector, somewhat new sector, but, this very booming...
Question, yeah. What's my blood waffling about? Yeah, because if we look at... Oh, crap, where has it gone? UK manufacturing sector shrinking at fastest pace since lockdown, data suggests. What's blood waffling about, honestly?
Sector.
They changed due to the pandemic. Yeah, but you would think they would have got it out. They would be able to get it out this year. The main reason they haven't done it is because they're trying to convince EU traders to move. Like, they're trying to get as much business as they can into the EU, but they're struggling to do it because a lot of the traders are either staying here or they're going to New York.
Is where is a place that the UK can set itself out and differentiate instead of trying to
they don't have the infrastructure for it at the moment. That's the problem with the clearinghouses. They don't have it.
Copy what other countries. The UK can't compete with the US or its new subsidies on many of those things. It needs to find areas where it has strengths or where it could very easily have strengths.
Where are these strengths, bro? He's talking a lot in generalities. He's talking a lot in generalities here. I don't appreciate it.
Use what it's.
I suppose I could counter that by saying what we could do is produce a lot more oil and gas and export it, which would run counter to that narrative.
It would.
But trade is still trade. Stephen, thank you for coming in. It's, as I say, it's a good news story and it's a bad news story.
It is.
The good news story, folks, is there was no cliff edge. Brexit has not led to a catastrophic fall in business with the European Union. It frankly was never going to. The disappointment is we're not taking more advantage of our potential on the world stage. But a lot of that isn't about politics. A lot of that is about the products we are manufacturing that are not being bought in the numbers that our economy needs.
That's quite an interesting conclusion, actually. It is very surprising he didn't use this as a push for reform to say, like, or Reform UK to say that the reason why we're struggling is because the government are signing trade deals based on optics rather than for the benefit of this country. So I think Farage had set himself up there for an easy punch on the Tories and for whatever reason did not take it. But yeah, we're going to end the stream here because I need to go. I was meant to be gone like 20 minutes ago, so I want to be in trouble. But, you know, we're going to end the stream here. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks, Kevon, for all the super chats. I really appreciate it. I don't know if you're new to the channel. I've not seen you before. But yeah, really cool. Really appreciate it. But as for everyone else, like, comment, share, subscribe. Yes, you're new. I had a feeling. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you next week. But what I will do is... Oh, betting ad, nice. I will do is I forgot to put the community chat up, so community post for the next stream. Please post comments here. I forgot to do that, so we'll post there here. This is a fun meme I sent my friend whilst I was sick. My white blood cells against this illness. Quote Pep Guardiola, we cannot compete, so that was fun. But it's produced nothing of tangible gain, and everyone knows it well. We've produced cynicism, hatred, and sarcasm. So if these are not tangible things, I don't know what is. But I'll catch you all next week. Bye-bye.